Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Awaiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have arrived. New construction
Ready and waiting. Very well.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well. At one. Agreed.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit
Very well.
lost.
Agreed. Of course.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
New construction options.
Vehicle.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Agreed. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building. Construction complete. Building.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Reporting.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting order. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Vehicle affirmative.
Reporting.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Reporting. Very well. Affirmative.
Cannot deploy here. New construction
Acknowledged.
options. Building.
Report. Very well.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative.
Repairing.
Affirmative. Reporting.
Unit repaired. Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Building.
Awaiting order.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Construction
Acknowledged.
complete.
Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds. On hold. Cancel. Building.
Awaiting orders.
Repairing. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Unit repaired.
Acknowledged. Reporting.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Building. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged.
Training.
Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting.
Yes, sir. Awaiting orders.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Vehicle
Unit
reporting.
ready.
Acknowledged. Medic
Training.
reporting. Moving out.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Medic reporting. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Awaiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Insufficient
Reporting.
funds.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Medic reporting. Moving out. Affirmative. Moving out. Medic reporting. Affirmative. Medic reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. New
Yes,
construction
sir.
options.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged.
Building. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Training.
Reporting.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Training. Unit ready. Construction complete.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit prepared.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Our base is under
Affirmative.
attack.
Vehicle acknowledged. Vehicle reporting.
Repairing.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. Unit prepared.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Building.
Waiting orders.
Acknowledged. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledge.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building. Building.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Vehicle affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Ready and waiting.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
At once. At once.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Repairing. Building.
Vehicle reporting.
Construction
Vehicle
complete.
reporting. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Unit
sir.
prepared.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
Prepared.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Building. Unit
Reporting.
ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building. Unit
Vehicle
prepared.
reporting. Affirmative.
Repairing. Construction
Reporting.
complete.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Vehicle
Yes, sir.
reporting.
Repaired.
Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged. Vehicle
Building.
acknowledged.
Repairing.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. On hold. Cancel.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Cannot deploy
Acknowledged.
here.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building. On hold.
Acknowledged.
Cancel.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. Building.
Awaiting orders.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Prepared. Insufficient
Yes, sir.
funds. Construction complete. Building.
Waiting
Unit
order.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yeah.
Unit
Okay.
lost. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Vehicle. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Vehicle. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Vehicle. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle.
Awaiting
Reporting.
orders. Affirmative.
Vehicle. Reporting.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Base is
Acknowledged.
under attack.
Affirmative. Awaiting order.
Unit
Acknowledged.
prepared.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Vehicle acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Preparing. Building. On hold. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Cancel.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete. Unit prepared.
Yes, sir.
New
Reporting.
construction
Affirmative.
options.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready. Unit
Acknowledged.
lost. Building. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
prepared. Repair.
Affirmative.
Yeah, okay.
New construction options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
once.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Acknowledged. Reporting.
Unit
Acknowledged.
prepared.
Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Unit prepared.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Vehicle. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Awaiting
Orders.
acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Vehicle. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Affirmative.
Preparing. Our
Affirmative.
base is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Vehicle. Reporting.
Awaiting
Orders.
affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Awaiting orders.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Affirmative.
Preparing.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
repaired.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Ready and
Unit
waiting.
lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Preparing. Unit ready.
Vehicle acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
repaired.
Acknowledged.
Preparing. Unit ready.
Waiting orders. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit
Vehicle
ready.
reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Training.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Training.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Training.
Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Training. Building. Unit
Reporting
ready.
at once.
Training.
Very well.
Reporting at once. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting.
Unit ready.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Reporting at once. Very well.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Our base
Affirmative.
is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Awaiting orders.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Training.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Waiting. Yes, sir.
Training.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Reporting. At once. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Of course. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Waiting orders.
Yes, affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction
Acknowledged.
options.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
Engineering. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Very well. At once. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Cancel.
Engineering. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Your construction
Acknowledged.
options. Training. Unit ready. Unit ready. Training. Primary building selected.
Awaiting
Unit
orders.
ready.
Yes, sir. And waiting.
Building.
Reporting, sir.
Construction complete.
Awaiting orders.
Our
At once.
base
Yes,
is
sir.
under attack. Training.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Training.
Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Training. Unit ready.
Engineering. Affirmative.
Reporting. At once.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Of course. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
At once.
lost.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
At once. Vehicle acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building. Training. Unit ready. Unit ready. Training. Construction complete.
Reporting. Agreed.
Prepare.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative. Of
ready.
course. Very well. Yes, sir.
Training.
Yes, sir. At once. Reporting. Affirmative. Ready and waiting. Reporting. Agreed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting.
Unit
Affirmative.
prepared.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Construction complete. Prepare.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit prepared.
Vehicle reporting.
Prepare.
Affirmative.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Ready and
Very
waiting.
well.
Yes, sir.
Building.
No, affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit prepared. Construction complete.
Yes,
Base
sir.
is under
Affirmative.
attack.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Construction complete. Primary building selected.
Reporting.
Training.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Training.
Affirmative. Knowledge. Affirmative. Knowledge. Reporting. Knowledge.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative.
Yes, moving out. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Knowledge.
Building.
Reporting. Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Very well. At once.
Medic reporting. Moving out. Moving out.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir.
Training.
Yes,
Unit
affirmative.
ready.
Engineering
Unit
affirmative.
ready. Training. Primary building selected. Unit
Ready and waiting.
ready.
Affirmative.
Training.
Ready and waiting. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. At once. Ready and waiting.
Repair.
At once.
Building.
Reporting. Knowledge. Vehicle. Knowledge. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Prepare.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Knowledge. Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle. Affirmative. Reporting. Reporting.
Unit
Sir.
ready.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative.
Very
Acknowledged.
well.
Yes, sir.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Insufficient
Acknowledged.
funds.
Affirmative.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Moving out.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete.
Vehicle. Knowledge. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
New construction
Yes, sir.
options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Mission accomplished.